Hello, this is What to Do About.
And this is
Sorry,
Triple.
I've forgotten already.
We're starting well today.
No, hello, this is What to Do About. And this is, okay, let's go. Let's do it again.
This week we're talking about after we've done that
This
bit.
week we're talking
Just
about.
keep rolling.
Keep rolling.
All right, so this is Peter.
And this is triple pole vault champion, Victor.
What?
For real? No, for real.
No, not for real. This is Lord Victor.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
He's not a triple Olympic pole vaulter yet. But there's still time, Victor.
Not even close. No.
What are we talking about this week, Victor?
We are talking about nature.
And climate
The
change.
nature of nature, climate change.
And we are
What else is there?
joined by two fantastic
Yes,
women.
we're very, very blessed.
Yeah, who do we start with? Who should we go first
We
with?
have Cressy
Hello.
of Elvis and Cressy.
Mm-hmm.
They are amazing.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about, do you know, the thing that I really like about Elvis and Cressy, I'm just going to say it, is that it's luxury goods, but it's cool. I read this article, it said luxury goods, but you can buy them and not feel guilty.
Guilt-free luxury.
Guilt-free
Yes.
luxury.
Yeah.
That's us, yeah.
I mean, you don't get much cooler, really. I think guilt-free luxury,
Yeah.
you know, and it looks good as well. You're wearing a belt.
I've got a wristband, I've got a belt, I've got a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a belt.
Peter's
I've
got
got
his
a wallet.
belt on.
I've got a bag.
Another
I've
bag.
got-
Can I just get one of each, please?
Yes,
Like, I'm
yes.
left out here.
You send me your address.
I've got a bag, cuffs, belt. They're all at home.
Yeah.
But
But before we get into what we've got,
Okay.
this is the amazing Jennifer. And Jennifer and I have known each other for, over a decade now. And Jennifer Adebowale runs the incredible Bang.
bang.
Yeah, and you can
Big
tell
Bang.
us about Bang, right?
Yep. Building a new generation
I think it's fantastic.
of everything.
Yeah,
Of everything.
yeah. Well, it's a radio. It's a radio
No, it's
station.
more
isn't it?
than radio.
Studio.
No. It's
I
studio,
looked it- I
it's
read the thing.
radio,
Yeah,
it's
read-
youth development.
Exactly.
It's
Well, not exactly, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it's many things. It's homes for young people,
Yeah.
homeless
Wow.
young people.
Yeah.
It's
I
many
say that because I want people to listen to Bang Radio.
Yes.
right?
It's
And I
now
want-
called The Beat.
I want people to listen to this podcast.
I want to listen to the
Maybe you can put the
They can do-
podcast
they
on
can
the
do
radio.
put the
both.
we'd
They
put
can
a
do
bit of the
both.
podcast on The Beat album.
Yeah, they can do both. I want people to, I mean, I love what you do, so
We
it's
give
like,
thanks.
yeah,
We
there's
give
nothing
thanks.
wrong with
Excellent.
that.
So yeah, this week we thought we would focus a bit on climate and nature.
What to do about it?
Yeah, and what to do about it, because there's an awful lot of conversation, but it still feels like there's kind of a very little amount of real action.
We're in a lot of trouble. Let's be honest. I mean, we're looking at 5-10 years in my lifetime when I'm already too old to run, but there is no running from this. We are literally destroying the earth, and I can't believe our leaders, so-called leaders, act as though it's not the most important thing. Like, there's nothing more important, is there? I mean,
No.
the air we breathe, the water we drink.
No, the planet is definitely giving us feedback,
It's-
and we ain't listening.
We
But
ain't
let
listening.
me ask you,
We
Victor,
ain't listening.
why do you think that is? Why do you think that is not hitting home?
There's two reasons that come to my mind, and I've talked to people about this, and there's two reasons, and they're both unbelievable. One is they don't believe it; they literally don't believe
Yeah.
it, and the other is that they do believe it, but they think they'll be the last people standing. So one of the things that we've seen are wealthy people in generally America moving to New Zealand, and they'll tell you if you listen to some of the stuff that some of these crazy people say, that they're moving to New Zealand. They've built bunkers, they've bought land in preparation for literally the climate emergency. You know, that these people think that it's survivable, but just by them. You know that, like, and there's a bunch of people out there. There is a third reason, which is there's something about the nature of human thinking, the way we are. We tend not to react to things that we think are a long time away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every morning we get up, we brush our teeth, we do our ablutions, we put our suit on, the sun's shining. There ain't no climate change, right? Until it
hits
comes.
But also, is there a thing about people just don't care? Isn't that the human thing that, you know,
Well,
if it's
I'm not-
not your problem directly?
I think that ties back to time. I think
I
people
think-
do care, but their concept of time is immediate.
It is.
And they think that this can happen
Yeah.
later, that the solution can come later
Yeah.
by other people.
Yeah,
So other
not me.
people can fix it
Not
later
me,
on.
not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I
not me,
think,
not yet.
You know, if you are,
Which is the same as not
Yeah.
care.
if you are
Okay.
living in poverty, your horizons are very short term, right?
Correct.
It's survival 1 week to the
Maslow's
next, or 1
hierarchy.
month to the next,
Correct.
and that's where your focus is. The alternative to that, though, however, is if you're, you know, a fisherman working on
you
some
get it every
island
day.
in the, you know, the
Well, in
Indian
this
Ocean,
country,
it does start biting, and you can start feeling the
Yeah.
consequences right now.
So in this country, in Oxfordshire, they are starting to experiment farming rice for the first time.
Is it working?
Well, yeah, because the fields are flooded.
Well, and also I'm growing grapes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making red wine in England, and
Yeah.
why can I do that? I can do it because
more
it's
of
warmer.
the things I'm going to get from you, Cressy.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us just about a little bit
Yeah,
about your journey?
we got to talk
Because
to our
we
guests.
started with luxury goods.
We got to talk to our guests.
What started with luxury goods became a life of farming, right? You are a
Yes.
farmer.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to ask, because I'd like to start, because you're fascinating, right?
Okay.
You studied international relations.
Politics and Chinese.
I'm interested in how you get from there to Elvis and Cressy luxury to farm. I mean, those 3 big steps. I mean, it's pretty big leaps.
So it's actually it's two things, and the reason I have these like front of mind is that I'm constantly asked, this is really weird what you do, so you got to work out what is behind all of that. And the first is I grew up in Western Canada and had a phenomenal childhood. You know, I used to go camping almost every weekend, and we'd be in the Rocky Mountains, and like I've seen a moose in the wild. I had quite a profound experience seeing a mother moose and a baby moose. And it doesn't leave, well, maybe it can leave some people, but that cut right into me in quite a profound way. And then when you go out into the rest of the world and you find that probably everywhere used to have wild animals roaming around and now mostly doesn't. I mean, nothing can kill you in Britain other than an adder or something.
Yes.
adders will
I
kill
looked this
you.
up the
It'd be
other day.
painful.
No, the most dangerous animal in Britain is a
Human.
cow.
Cow.
Oh yeah, cow. Actually,
It's a cow.
It's a cow.
Yeah.
It's a cow, yeah.
And that's
A
'cause of
lot of people
breeding,
get
where they
killed by
get bred out.
cows.
Yeah.
It's an angry.
Yeah,
it's an angry
Yeah.
cow.
Adders, you're all right, and some people definitely avoid.
Yeah.
But so I had this great childhood, and then you go out and you see. I mean, I when I moved to Asia, I discovered that half of Hong Kong's untreated sewage goes out directly into the sea, and then you work out that in the UK it's happening as well, right? It's not just as unique to one
We're
place.
paying for it here.
This happens everywhere, but you see those contrasts, and I think it hardens you one way. So I became an active environmentalist from a very early age, but also one that was really hopeful because I remember the ozone layer and how we solved that problem. And for Canadians, that was a profound problem because we need the ozone layer to grow maple trees to make maple syrup, and Canadians without maple syrup is like summer without ice cream. You know, like you can't do it. So we saw a problem solved. So there's that. And then the second thing for me and why I make bags and why I'm now a farmer is that when I was about 12 years old, my grandmother said to me, if you're capable, you're responsible.
Yeah, I like that.
And that calcified in me. Like,
I like that.
and I see that in every social entrepreneur because they're the kind of person who says, oh, I think I can do something there.
Yes.
So, and they immediately stand up. They don't plan for 20 years how they might casually get involved. They just jump in.
Yeah.
And it's something that why I think we're always such good friends with each other, because we can recognize that the link between hope and action, right? We can recognize that in people really, really quickly. So that's why I'm in luxury. But why, like that's sort of from a background view, but why did I actually start it? It was because when I moved to the UK, on the first day that I was here, I went on the tour of the sewers.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to see this technology because everyone was saying these sewers are amazing. And I thought I was going to see a machine that converted sewage into something cool. And I just saw a tunnel that moved it from one place to another.
Yeah.
And
it was probably decrepit at the time.
Yeah, but it was beautiful, Victorian brickwork.
Lovely stuff.
Very Dickensian. And it was, so you see that and you think, all they did was move it.
Yeah.
And then I went to a waste transfer station and which was in it's now Fancy Flats in Battersea. Then I went to a material recovery facility in Southwark. And then I went to the British Library because at the time there was no phones that you could do all your research.
Yeah.
And the British Library told me we, in the UK, landfilled 100 million tons of waste a year. 30% is construction, 30% is household, 30% is commercial. And I just thought, this is insane. I mean, we're on a tiny island. And then I started going to landfill sites to see what it was.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw a fire hose and I thought, I can fix that problem.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to fix it, but I can fix that problem. And then that'll give me the license to
I'm
start
always-
solving more problems.
The thing that always gets me when I meet people like you, which is rare because you are rare, is why don't you go into politics? Why aren't you running the country?
I did a politics degree.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why don't you just like, I'm going to change this, do some leadership, like, I'd vote for you.
So
It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's like,
People who can rarely,
Why
or
are
people
we
who
run
want
by-
to, rarely will be the people that are running the
I
country.
get it, but it's like,
I think, well, Peter's known me for a long time. I love living in a democracy. I think it's
Yeah.
extremely powerful.
Me too.
I don't think that I'm molded for that fight.
Yeah.
Because I like to do things immediately.
what you
I
do.
do not like to compromise.
Compromise,
I don't
yeah.
like. I mean, there are some people who are great at building
yeah, yeah.
coalitions.
Yeah.
And I think I would struggle. And actually, I have to give credit here to my dad because I really did want to go into politics. And he
Talked
found.
you out of it.
Well, no, he introduced me to through friends of friends. Someone knew a former Canadian prime minister, and I had 15 minutes of his time. And that guy said, "Tell me about you," and
Yeah.
I did. And he's like, "I don't think you should go into politics."
Yeah.
It wasn't Mr. Trudeau, was it? by any
No,
chance?
no. It was someone who was he's called Joe Clark. He was prime minister for a very short period of time. But he's like, this just doesn't seem to be. He's
What
like,
you
you want
wanna
to
do.
do
And I
stuff
think
right
you made
now.
exactly the right
right
decision,
decision.
right?
Yeah.
Because
I kind of
The
think so.
world's better for it.
But your
I mean,
politics lost, though, in a way.
I've been asked on a
People
few
like you.
occasions to consider standing
Yeah.
Parliament, and it is one of the best decisions I ever made
Yeah.
not to.
Well,
Because
I'm a crossbench, don't you? So
of course I know you're a
I'm not a member of
crossbencher.
a party.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because you
but
have to be tribal, right? And the way that power works within political parties, it means compromise.
Yes.
And, unless you take the buck, and you know where the buck comes from
Yeah.
in modern
I
politics.
agree.
If you look at party politics today, how much kind of sponsorship comes in from elite institutions, large business. That's the way that you grow your power in politics, and that is deeply compromising.
but it's going to come back. Hold that thought, because we're talking about the environment and it's relevant, right? It's relevant. And I've seen
totally
I've been to your farm.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, it's amazing. And you've got this pond
Yeah.
where you treat your sewage.
Yeah.
And you told me, I didn't quite believe you at the time, because it was like, what? That you could swim in it
Yeah.
and it'd be
A
okay.
live pond.
It's
It
not.
looks beautiful.
So that pond comes at the end of 7
Yeah.
other ponds.
Yeah, I know. It's not the
to
first
be
pond.
clear.
No, that's a very good point,
What's that
actually.
smell in the studio?
There's no E. coli issues.
Can you
here.
imagine? Could you? No way.
But that's kind of what nature does writ large. We do
Yeah.
in micro
Filters,
scale. Nature
cleanses.
will clean things, but also we have to make decisions on the farm. We don't put bleach anywhere in the farm. We don't put any toxic chemicals down any of our drains. We use sponges and things like that don't contain plastic, so that we're not getting microplastics down the drain. It's a careful group of decisions that allow us to then ensure that the water that goes back into the ecosystem is actually cleaner than the tap water that comes in.
Tell me, because I'm curious about two things. This first question, I'm interested in what you grow and what you sell, because and the second question is, how scalable is this? Because there's lots of other farms out there who, frankly, don't give a monkeys.
Yeah.
Just be honest. But so you're doing your bit. How scalable is it? And what would we need to do to make it so?
So the fascinating thing about so Elvis and Cressy, for 20 years we made luxury handbags out of decommissioned firehouses, rescue leather, these kinds of things, and 50% of the profits goes to charity.
Yeah.
We were solving material challenges through this innovative solution that added value, which means we could give back to the communities that we serve, right?
Yeah.
And once you're in that mindset that you have, I'm going to solve a problem and I'm going to maximize good,
Yeah.
then you think, what else can we be doing? And that's what led us to the farm. We were thinking, we love what Elvis and Cressy does, the what that we do, but the how I found problematic, because we couldn't generate our own renewable energy, we couldn't treat our own wastewater, and that's why we became farmers, because we wanted to be regenerators. I wanted to sequester more carbon than I emitted. I wanted to clean more water than I used. I wanted to generate more renewables than I consumed. Those were the baseline goals.
Yeah.
And there was no way to do that for me given what our business did without going to a farm.
Right.
So we found a really crappy farm. I mean, horrible.
What size?
17 acres, buildings filled with
Quite-
They're
asbestos.
completely
small.
depleted,
Not-
right, of nutrients.
People's not the previous owner, but the owner before ran a turf cutting business. So they sold the
Literally
soil.
sold the soil.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking about talk about deals
Dust
with
bowl.
devils. Yeah, a chalk bowl.
Yeah.
And when I say chalk, you could literally, when we arrived, just pick up the earth and draw on a blackboard. I mean, it was just crazy. And we thought, if we can bring this farm to a state of abundance, create this wetland system that treats our waste and wastewater, build a straw bale building that generates more power than it consumes, and then use regenerative agriculture sequester carbon, we will be able to show people in 1 hour, which is the experience you had, that you don't have to be an extractor.
No.
In any sense, in sense of community, energy, water, whatever. You can be a net regenerator. So, and then when you say how scalable is it?
Yeah.
This crazy thing is how scalable is it is infinite. And the most powerful thing about farming, and this is where I love that we've started being farmers, is that the handbag business is harder to scale because I'm up against an industry that still doesn't really quite take me seriously. You know, I've had big French luxury brands say, "You're not luxury."
What?
And I'm like, why
not?
am I not luxury? And they're like, because you're not a maison. I'm like, I'm literally at a maison. We're in my maison.
A maison.
Yeah.
I mean, as
House.
a,
Like a
I know,
house.
I know what maison means, but it's like
I know, it's ridiculous. So I said, well,
What
no,
the-
okay, fine. I'm not a maison. I'm a farm.
people are weird, aren't they?
But there's a weird hierarchy in luxury where it wants to define its own actors. And we're an upstart, but you know, who cares?
Yeah.
We can write our own rules. I don't want to follow their programs. I don't do fashion. We do that.
Can I tell you, when I walk through an airport and I've got my Elvis and Cressy overnight bag and I've got my rucksack on my back, like people look at me and they are like,
They want to ask.
And they don't do that with people with, the other big
It's actually
maison
more
brands.
exclusive.
And
It is because we're smaller.
the number of people who asked me about my cufflinks,
Yeah.
literally, I mean, I think I gave a pair to David Cameron, actually. I
did?
regret that now, but I did give a pair to David Cameron. You did, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
They will improve anyone's life.
They really
They
will
will.
improve anyone's
They're
life.
really cool.
Constant
But-
reminder.
So this is the reason why I asked you about whether it's scalable, because this podcast and this video, there are going to be people watching this, and they're going to be going, and I know some of them, they're going to be going, yeah, all right, that's all right. It's a one-off. These
Victor,
things, yeah.
They're going to be thinking, it's all right for you.
It's
you
all
can
right
do
for
that.
you. Look at
How
you.
do I do that?
Yeah.
I live,
Yeah.
I live in a
council block
London
or whatever.
somewhere.
Yeah, Tesco's
How
around the
can I make a
corner,
change?
whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, and I want to. It's like you are one of two things. You're either unique, sui generis, or you are the start of something big.
I'm not unique. 100%. Do not think no. And there's two sides of that. Okay, we started this company with 39 pounds and 94 pence. We started making belts in a house share in Brixton with a rivet press beside our bed.
When you say we,
my Elvis and
Elvis.
myself.
okay, so two people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there, so you don't have to have a lot of money to get these things going, especially when you're solving a material challenge, because the material is free. Okay. Problems often are free.
Yeah.
People would be happy for you to take on a problem.
yeah.
So we started, and then how scalable is it? Well,
I'm thinking about the farm, to be honest.
so there's two things. With the luxury side of the business, we have partners like, we collect the waste leather from Burberry, we collect the waste leather from the most fancy car brand in the UK, which I'll be able to talk about shortly. But the reality is that we're not yet. Their problem.
Okay.
But the reality is that we can scale our solution to companies that are 7,000 times larger than we are. And so, no issue with scale. No issue with scale. Maybe 10 years ago, yes. Now, no, because we're changing hearts and minds.
Okay.
And in terms of the farm, this is what I love about farming. So you've got a little bit of, let's say, stratification, class issue, snobbiness in fashion.
Yeah.
In farming, that is gone.
Yeah.
If your neighbor sees that your land is healthier and that your yield,
They want to do what you do.
that your profit is
it's
better,
system
they will
leadership.
come.
Okay.
So we started having dinners,
Yeah.
inviting our neighbors around, and we've realized that our little 17-acre farm, if you look at our neighbors, that's 10,000 acres worth of land. And then their neighbors and their neighbors.
Yeah.
What does the farm produce?
Wine.
Wine, yeah. Wine is going to be our
I'm
product.
coming to
Wine.
live
Yeah.
there.
It's cool, actually.
They've got a
This
little
wine
lovely
in
cottage
Kent.
that you can go and stay in.
Wine, nuts, fruit, all kinds of stuff. Nature. I mean, our net gain for nature, we had no newts on the farm because there was no water on the farm. Now we've got an infinite increase in the number of newts because from 0 to 1
Can
is
I,
infinite.
can I
the
just make a
question-
point
go-
about
please,
the
no. Like,
accessibility
we're
about
just
this?
having a
Because
chat.
when you look at the end of your journey,
Yeah.
it looks so distant, right?
Yeah, it's
But when
20
you
years.
think about the start, it's iterative, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one small step each time. And
Yeah.
you've just come back from Jamaica, and I was lucky enough to travel to Jamaica to look at social entrepreneurship, social enterprise in Jamaica. And what I found was that actually social enterprise and sustainability was a route for the poorest people living
that's
up
Yeah.
the
in
evidence,
Blue
the
Mountains,
evidence,
right? They were
absolutely.
using incredible ways to turn, using kind of goat waste, goat poo, using worms to consume the goat poo, to turn that into the right fertilizer to grow mushrooms.
Yeah.
Mushrooms don't grow easily in Jamaica, right? And normally they're imported onto the cruise ships. And these women were growing mushrooms under their beds using this entirely sustainable process and then supplying the cruise ships with expensive mushrooms. And that was bringing them abundance.
So this is the thing, right? I'm really I'm an impatient person. I'm not known for my patience, and I think we've got 5-10 years to literally make a systemic change in the way we produce pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And so when I hear this stuff, I'm really excited. It gives me hope, but I'm linking, how are we going to get to scale
That's the question.
in my lifetime?
Yeah. I think
Without killing my
that's the
kids.
real question for those that
Yeah.
have the means to sort of change things, like yourself, Victor, and SCUK. How do you shift? No, because these are the people that are doing it. Cressy, what we need is, how do we create the opportunity for people on council estates, in inner London, in inner cities, to be able to even take a part of what Cressy is doing and to replicate
So
that?
let me ask this question, Cressy, and it's like, okay, this is where politics matters, right?
Yeah.
Because there are farms out there in this country that farm at scale that literally poison the land.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that, right? They're doing animals and all that, and they're putting all sorts of literally crap into the rivers. So you're talking to, I get a chance to speak to the Secretary of State for Agriculture and Food and Farming. What needs to change at that level in order to make it easier for other people to do what you do? What incentives do we need to put in place? How do we reward the people who do what you do as opposed to the people who don't do what you do? I mean, that's...
There's two things, and I don't want to oversimplify it because it isn't. I think Sri Lanka famously tried to go organic in 1 year, and it resulted in mass famine and a disaster. And we shouldn't do that.
No.
But we know that farms can become regenerative over, let's say, a 4 to 5 year transition period.
That's
Farmers are not going to earn money in that time.
Okay.
And we need to somehow subsidize that transition.
Okay.
But if we said, look, within 5 to 7 years, let's give people that runway. We want to be doing this entirely differently.
Yeah.
We will help you through that. We will invest accordingly, and the UK will be the center of excellence for regenerative agriculture, which, by the way, will turn us into a carbon sink, give us all kinds of innovations that we can take to the world and deliver. So it would be a great thing, but you need to do it like that. You need to say, here's the time period.
We've got 10 years, so we do it in 5.
And then you have to, at the tenure, you have to put a cliff in place right now. You have to say, at that point, and this is where I'm going to go way beyond agriculture. I'm going to say in 2036, it should be illegal to profit from the exploitation of people or the degradation of the natural.
I'm all for that.
I'm up for that.
I'm all for that, because it's going to kill us.
Let me give you a real challenge, right? So we're about to launch a project called Grow. I'm going to be his favorite person by the time I finish this. It's called Grow. We developed it over about 3-4 years, piloted it, and we've got about nearly £250,000 from the lottery to start a project where we're going to be teaching young people and community members how to grow. And the vision that I was inspired to do this after moving to Jamaica, and I thought to myself, if you live on a council estate like where I grew up, and you were made to be a farmer, how do you ever exercise that? we would have thousands of young people going to school without the opportunity to ever learn
Well,
or
they don't
be
know.
a farmer. How? And food is life.
Yeah.
We can't live without food.
Yeah.
So we developed this, and what we're launching it actually with groundwork.
Fantastic.
in the
Oh, yeah,
next
no
month.
groundwork. Yeah.
And to start with, it's just simple: grow herbs, grow food, grow tomatoes on your patios in
So
local
let me ask you the
community
same
spaces.
question. How scalable is it? Because I've seen some amazing technologies, vertical farms in
Yeah.
old buildings.
Yeah.
And
Hydroponics, aquaponics.
Yes.
So we need to answer the question, how much of that do we need to feed London? How much of that do we need to feed Birmingham?
It
How
is-
much of this do we need to feed the country?
Well,
And
for
over
human
what
beings,
time period?
not so much. I mean, we
That's
can't.
the
You
thing.
can't feed cattle. We can't be feeding people beef like
No.
that.
Yeah.
But the fascinating thing for me is that
we shouldn't.
everyone should be able to
Yeah.
grow their own food. Everyone
Yeah.
should understand it, because that education is something that's then those are their skills for life.
Yes.
And that understanding, I think, will completely change people's relationship with water use, food waste. I mean, half of the food we produce is
And
wasted.
importantly, their own health, right? This is the
Completely
thing,
their
right?
own.
So the cost of the kind of, poor health society
Yeah.
is vast, as
I
you well
agree.
know,
I
right?
know that, yeah.
And actually, if we can
it's the
start with
poorest.
food, and it's not just about food and farming. If we think about the challenges the planet faces, there's a lot of displacement that needs to happen. Renewable energy, for example, is now cheaper than oil and gas extraction.
is.
And yet, can we displace oil and gas extraction because of
Hell
vested
no.
interests?
So
not
I want
not
to-
quickly
I mean,
enough.
that's a legal change. The
It
fact,
is a legal
the
change,
fact that
yeah.
electricity, that renewable electricity prices are linked to oil and gas
Yeah,
prices
100%.
and pegged to it is pure insanity.
The point that I kind of want to make, because I think it's important for our listeners to understand, is that yes, there is a responsibility on us all to do our bit, but you cannot push this onto the shoulders of everyday citizens, because pushing it onto consumers to make more
Yeah.
ethical choices and consumers to grow their own food is absolutely part of the solution, and there's an empowerment in that. But there is also
There's a scale problem.
structures and systems of power that also need to be addressed, right?
I agree.
Well, and
I want
the 10-year plan of making it illegal to exploit or degrade would pretty much eliminate our ultra processed food problem, because
So-
all of that is extractive and exploitative, and same with fast fashion. That would be eliminated too.
I'm totally with you on the principle, but I want to be the economist that said, I can't remember, J.K. Galbraith for a minute, right?
Yeah.
So there are millions of people employed in the processing food factories. There are hundreds of thousands employed on farms. There are hundreds of thousands employed in fast fashion. People's pensions are invested in those companies, and you said, and I agree with you actually, from what I've read, farmers would need subsidising for at least 5 years before they became profitable again. So I just want to address the practical questions of actually doing it, because every time I've spoken to this with so-called policymakers, that's the thing that stops the argument in its tracks. It's the fact that we have investors, sunk costs, and incentives that basically mean it's virtually impossible to change. And we haven't, people on our side of the argument, progressive, whatever, what we haven't done yet is introduce a detailed enough economic model that gets us over that 5-year hump, that gets us over the scale hump, such that it isn't on the shoulders of the people that are the poorest. So one of the arguments that the energy companies always have is, and the water companies, is, well, we can't invest without putting up prices.
Well, they've just extracted
And they do put up
tens of
prices.
billions of pounds in artificial dividends to their owners over the last couple of decades, and now claim they need a government bailout to repair the sewage system. So there's a bit of propaganda, I think, at play here.
Agreed.
And there are countries now that are emerging too, actually regenerative economies that are kind of net carbon positive, for example. That is being achieved. And I do think one of the, the elephant in the room, so to speak, is the kind of gross inequality. This notion that we can't afford it Well, we do need redistribution. And I was going to say one other thing, 'cause it's really interesting. It's just happened in Scotland, the Community Wealth Building Bill, which public procurement is a great place to start.
It is.
Because public procurement in the UK is worth £400 billion a year.
Yeah, and the rest,
And it still perpetuates kind of,
And
It actually
extractive
feeds,
systems.
it actually feeds the thing that it's
you
trying
could
to
start to really begin to, and quickly actually. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Scotland with the Community Wealth Building Bill, because it will start absolutely prioritising kind of democratic businesses, local, non-extractive, regenerative businesses.
So
and that will create a market, right? That will create a market shift that will reward people that are doing the right thing.
Okay.
Because currently there is very little reward apart from
there is no reward.
Being joyful in yourself and your life.
Then maybe that's what needs to change then.
I'm with you.
I think that why not put it to the poorest people? Why not? Let's change disadvantage into strength. We need to do something radical. And I don't think going on a train that's going to hell and trying to change things on that train is going to work.
Like £1 trillion into quantitative easing, which basically went to the City of London and the financiers to bail out the banks.
Oh, the money is there.
The money's always there.
What was it? Someone told me last week that one of the AI companies is losing £17 billion a month.
Oh, yeah, and very few of them have made any money so far.
The money is there. We actually, and I think when you said the word radical, people freak out when you say the word radical, right? I get called radical all the time, and I'm like, that's a way to dismiss me. I'm not radical. I just use most of my brain. I like that. I'm just creative. I'm not radical. And actually, most people, we are a phenomenally creative species.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
We're just not.
At all levels.
We're just not saying. We're not saying.
Everybody.
What can you do with that talent? Well, what can you do with your brain, your soul? What can you deliver?
I don't disagree with anything that anybody said. I'm with you. You know that. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. And I am absolutely determined to bring the excution movers to the people on the other side of this argument who sit there basically insisting that things cannot change. So I always think it's important when we have these debates. I mean, your response to what's happening in Scotland, it's not just hope, it's doing, right, at scale. It's shifting the incentives. It's actually changing the way things are. And it's making people who don't want to change see it as actually advantageous to change, as opposed to making the argument, which is very important, but not presenting the actual systemic solutions, which are critical.
Completely critical.
What I will add to that by saying I think the key is in relationships. I think even the issue we have now is the unhealthy relationship we have with the planet and with life itself.
True.
And
with food, with each other.
And if we want to change anything, we must get into relationships across, the things that divide us.
But I think it's fascinating what you just said, because I always think I don't know whether we can actually, by saying this, I'm going to timestamp this episode, but we've had a recent significant win by the Green Party in a by-election. I don't necessarily think that it means there's a political revolution coming, but it's significant. It's not nothing. But we also have a political party that actually disagrees. I mean, it's an evidence-based comment with everything we've said up to date in this podcast, this video. Literally, they deny that there's a climate crisis. If they get into power, they're going to abolish, literally stop spending. They don't agree that basically their view is if you're poor, it's your own fault. Tough. They are run by people who make money out of the very things that are going to kill the planet and encourage other people to do. And as of this moment, they are still the most popular political party in the country, not by MPs, but by exposure and by people thinking that they're. Yeah. So for me, that's what we've got to deal with. Like, that's real.
It's slightly terrifying, but that So that particular political party runs my local
You can
council.
name them.
The Reform runs my local council.
You can't say reform, can't you?
And they said,
Must not be named.
the big claim was they were going to come into Swale and save all this money and do all these
Yeah.
things. They've worked out they can't
know,
save any
yeah.
money.
No.
They've
And
worked
they're
out
gonna
that
put
actually
council
Swale
What
was,
people
was run
say
quite
and what
efficiently.
reality is are
And
completely
And we need to spend the next
different
4 years
things.
talking
Yeah.
about how they couldn't do anything.
Do you know what?
Because they've worked out that it was actually being done quite well.
Yeah,
And do you know
was.
what? My mum,
Yeah.
as you know, Victor,
I do know.
is a little bit aligned to that particular political kind of viewpoint and has started to be far less kind of vocal about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can see what's going on. All the commitments and
That's a
promises,
shame.
they're falling over.
Yeah.
Nothing is changing. Council tax is going up. The potholes aren't fixed.
No.
The local authorities falling out. It's a great case study.
It's brilliant.
And it is exposing the absolute flaw.
yeah.
We just need to talk about for the next 4 years the things that they said they were going to
Yeah.
do that they are not executing, and not make it about name calling
Yep.
or any kind of
Or just
intellectual
let's
superiority.
forget
just
political
by the way,
parties.
you can't do this.
Let's just forget the political system.
Make it counted.
I think
Make it count.
Yeah, if individuals cannot get into relationships and make things count, we've got no choice but to pick up what we need to do for our communities, for our
I think both things are true.
neighborhoods ourselves.
It's everything
Both
everywhere
things-
all at
Yeah.
once.
both things
you
are
can't
true.
do-
But the common thing around it is about power, it's about love, it's about connection and responsibility. And I don't think we could sit around waiting for
No,
systems
it's
to
not
change.
about sitting around waiting.
Yeah.
It's about acting local,
Yeah.
but also recognising that we do need that kind of global systems shift and
kind of
power.
think
But we
so.
need
and wealth.
individuals.
Power and wealth does need to be
that-
redistributed, Jen.
Yeah.
I'm coming to, because this, what to do about, and it seems to me, I'm just like, the answers in this conversation in the sense that it's not either or, it's and.
Yeah.
You do need
All
to
of
show
it.
people. You need to show people
Bring
what's
it to life.
possible.
Yeah.
You need to show people what's possible. What's
Give them
you do.
hope.
And you're not showing them that it's possible, that it's also profitable and viable.
Yeah.
And then they will do it, because why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
As you say, your farmers next door to you, people with land, are looking at what
Yeah.
you're doing. And you also need ground up. And the reason for that is, this is really important, and it's boring saying this, is that quite a few of the institutions that we take for granted, the police, the NHS, social housing, was started by people on the ground, not by people in Whitehall. So we need that. But we also, and I don't think we can get away from this, in a democracy, we need a political system that is actually accountable, not driven by people who can pay the most and who can access our brains through social media. And we need to keep pointing out how outrageous it is that democracy has been hacked.
But the thing, Victor, is
corrupted.
that system is not going to be brought about by anyone that's in power at the moment. And so, Peter, when you talk about power needs to be redistributed, then I tend to say, look, people are powerful. Life, there's nothing more powerful than life. And if we sit around waiting for somebody to enable that or empower us,
think you've got to
it's never going to happen. So it's looking at this £39.
Yeah.
And your
But Jen, let me say, because I love you very much, but I think about like 90% of carbon emissions are the responsibility of only about 20 companies in the
It's
world.
not as
right?
though-
Peter, how are you going to change that?
It's
Well,
not
we'll
as
come
though-
to that.
Well, this is the law I want in 10
Yeah.
years. So right now, Coca-Cola, like the most littered thing in the world is a cigarette butt.
Yeah.
The single most littered branded good is a 500 ml Coca-Cola plastic bottle.
because of the amount of water
That's in my 10-year time horizon. That can't happen anymore
No, we can't.
because of the water use, because of the sugar that goes into that, which we know is
Microplastics.
grown largely by Haitian slaves. And I mean, that won't be allowed. And the microplastic, they won't be able to pay for the ongoing damage that causes into the environment. So we just have to follow. I mean, the Deshgupta review said, polluter pays.
Yep.
And it's why do we have a jobs tax and a national insurance tax and not a ultra processed food tax and a tax? I want to tax people who don't pay tax. I think we have to tax things we don't want to happen instead of things we do want to happen. We're taxing people who in their first job. We're taxing people on their student loans. We're not taxing companies for destroying the environment. And that is insane. And
Why
that
is
can
that, Peter?
change.
But
Why
I
aren't
think
we
the
taxing the people who-
responsibility is everyone has responsibility, because it's
Yes.
really great to sit and talk about these companies that are doing it. And Peter, it looks like I'm coming for you. I love him dearly, but we're
Go
just
on,
not
be
agreeing.
contented.
But you, an individual would still go and buy Coke.
Look, I think the people
So
that
we're
are,
complicit.
I think the people
Yeah.
that
We are to a degree.
You can buy Gaza Cola, you can buy other brands that are at least not as bad and perpetuating. I mean, if you think about some of the companies now that are actively supporting the Trump administration, actively subverting society,
yeah.
politics, democracy. Like we do have choices to make, but I think that the fear is, or the risk is that we tend to alienate people by putting the responsibility kind of, on their shoulders
I
to
agree.
act when they are so disempowered
agree.
and so under pressure from poverty and from, kind of so many different pressures in
I
society.
remember talking to...
And I just think, that with power comes responsibility, right?
I agree.
I disagree. With responsibility comes power.
Well, I think...
Oh, no.
No, I wish that was the
Yes.
case.
I mean, I want that to be the case, but that isn't, because right now the companies with these huge footprints can also afford the lobbyists, the lawyers,
Correct.
the ability to relocate their head office to the British Virgin Islands and to escape responsibility, to build a bunker in New Zealand, as you're talking about. And actually, that's the imbalance that we're trying to address, is that the people with the least conscience can rise the fastest in a world where we don't
But it's a tricky one,
hold
isn't
people
it?
to account.
Where I would agree
It's a
with you,
tricky
Jen,
one.
where I would agree with you, right, is that there is huge power, untapped power in communities. And the more you come
yes.
together and create social action,
Yeah.
Yes.
the more you learn about
Yes.
what's possible,
Yes.
about power, about
Yeah.
structures,
Yes.
and you educate and inform and enable and empower people to be more ambitious. And that I celebrate. And I think there's an opportunity
Don't
for
disagree
people...
with any of that, but it's... So let me talk about AI for a minute. So AI is one of the fast becoming one of the biggest users of energy.
Yep.
Of all kinds. It is absolutely, the amount of energy is required and the amount of water it needs to cool the servers is massive. In fact,
Pure water.
It's so, pure water. And it's so bad that they're talking about putting these things in space. I mean, the chances of doing that, I think, are pretty slim, but that's what they're talking about.
Well,
and yet,
Elon probably is talking about that, because then
well,
he
he's
gets paid
talking about
twice.
going to Mars. He's talking about going to Mars, isn't he?
Paid
Yeah.
twice.
To which my response is, you first, Elon. But the fact of the matter is, people use AI.
Yeah.
I use AI. I'm not going to lie about it. I use AI, and so the challenge is, how do we? You're not going to stop people from using AI. It's the genie's out of the bottle. They are using this stuff, and the companies that are, I would say they're making money. A lot of them actually haven't started making money yet. But the sort of companies that are pursuing this, and the governments that are doing it, can't stop, right? And the question that sort of comes to mind is, that's not going to be stopped. That's not going to be stopped necessarily, unless people can persuade me, by community action. The communities are using the stuff, right?
No.
And governments are using the stuff, and it's killing the planet.
But we could, we have to tax the energy use and the water use. And we have to tax it at what that's worth to
And
the
also,
world.
when you talk about community action, we're not going to stop using AI, but what do we use it for?
And actually, the interesting thing
That's
about
the question.
community and the situation right
Done
now
awesome communities
is that
some interesting things.
is that I love the idea that that actually the most powerful thing we could do right now to, let's say, turn down the volume on Donald Trump is to unsubscribe from Netflix, unsubscribe from any Facebook, Instagram, any single app you have where there's a tech bro involved, where they were at his inauguration, then actually that's one of the most powerful things we could all do. Because
we don't.
So
and
all the
communities
power
can.
is there.
So let me be honest. Let me be honest. I like Netflix.
There you
So-
go.
I like
If
a
it comes
Netflix.
down
For
to
3 months,
Peter,
Victor,
Peter,
could you take a 3-month break from Netflix? I bet you
can't
could.
now.
Probably.
Look, a couple of
Probably.
things that I would
I
say
haven't.
right on this, because you might not be aware that United Peoples is a project emerging from America, which is trying to build as an effective digital infrastructure, but
I've
with
read about
social
these people.
purpose, right?
I've read about this.
Absolutely with social purpose. And there are coders and activists and young
I have
people
read
that are all
this.
collaborating to build a better alternative. So we don't have to become dependent on just
Is
one
it growing
thing.
fast enough?
No, actually, what it needs currently is about £300 million of capital.
That's
It's already well advanced,
Okay.
but £300 million of capital is
nothing.
totally achievable
Nothing compared to
when trusts and
ChatGPT.
foundations own £90 billion worth of assets in the UK.
Yeah.
So there is the money, even within civil society organisations, to take. But the problem is that risk aversion, trust and foundations kind of coexist. They're rarely the ones that seed kind of revolutionary acts.
Yeah.
But there are ways, there are reasons to be hopeful, and there are potential alternatives. So that no one's, because I think if you tell people you've got to go without Netflix or streaming live videos or entertainment, people are going to turn off, right? They don't want that future.
I'm afraid they are.
People don't want a future of austerity again, right?
No,
People,
I don't think you have to turn off from it forever.
But-
But it's a 3-month economic
Protest.
slump in the
Yeah.
US where you turned off
Chrissy,
all
do
your
you
AI.
really think that's going to happen? Let's be real.
It could happen.
I don't think it. I
hasn't.
don't think it can't happen. I just think not enough people are talking within their, because that kind of revolution is only going to happen if someone powerful within each community with that person power gets their 20 friends to do
So
it.
it was Anna Lapper that said, every time you spend £1, you're casting a vote for the future you want to live in.
Yeah.
And if you're casting your vote for, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, then you are enabling that wealth accumulation and that inequality to. Now, I'm not saying, I think there are actions that we can take, and I think the tide is getting higher and higher.
Well, it
and
is,
more and more
that's my
people are
point.
becoming kind of forced to think about those things that they didn't. And
Well,
that's why we're seeing, later on this month, I hope, one of the largest gatherings of people
I'll be there.
in the country.
I'll be there.
About
be there.
love, about community, about
relationship,
unity.
So look, I just want to be clear. I think there's only two choices for the human race. It's either hope or nihilism, right? And I think it was a Welsh philosopher who said our job is to make hope possible rather than despair logical, right? So we should be doing that. I'm a real
Realist.
pragmatist when it comes to hope. Like I wouldn't be sitting here, with you, if it wasn't for the pragmatism of black people, frankly, who stopped slavery. I mean, I know we like to think it was some generous white guy, but it was black people who stopped slavery, and they had a plan. They asked themselves the hard questions before the opposition did,
and made the sacrifices.
And they got the resolutions before the opposition did, and that's how they made change. And I think that's what we've got to do. Like, I mean, the example that you've given and the people digital, the response to digital, the United Peoples is fantastic. I've read about it, and the only thing I would hope is that they grow faster. We should get them on, actually. We've got 10 years. This is not, we're on a burning platform.
I can't speak to the end of slavery without sounding like an idiot. But what I kind of take from it is that there was actually lots of people trying lots of different things.
True. Yeah.
And some of those things were more or less successful.
Yes.
And and then there was grounds,
movement,
and then there was things that spiraled into a better place.
Yeah.
So you have to have all kinds of different initiatives working.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you're talking about, because we need really sound businesses that are creating new examples.
Yes.
We need social enterprises.
Yes.
We need investors to change what they invest in, and we need to change the incentives around that. We need the law to change. We need to focus on community resurgence. But we need people to imagine, and this is fascinating, like if you ask people to imagine the best possible future, they're never imagining a place where they're a slave to AI.
No.
Yep.
And that they're basically just this like group of molecules that exists to feed
serve someone
seven wealthy people, and that they have no one to hug and no one to love, no one to trust,
Percy.
no one to be with.
Awesome. Listen,
I like
the
that.
answer is in young people. Fact of the matter is, everybody has now maybe about 75 to 95 years on the planet.
If you're lucky.
Exactly.
Depends,
So
actually,
any change
life
that needs
expectancy
to
is going in the wrong
happen,
direction.
if it does not involve young people, we're wasting our time. Because
Yeah.
I've got maybe another 25 to 30 years of working.
No.
After which
You'll live forever.
I'm not going to
No.
die.
No.
Life is eternal.
No.
But Jennifer in this form may not be here. If we are not supporting young people to have that imagination, because, and I think imagination is everything, is to imagine that world, to have that vision, to share that vision,
but I don't think
and to
it's
get
just,
them to think about
I
where do
agree with you. I agree with
what
you.
am I in that vision?
I agree with you, and you've just reminded me of something which I often forget, which is that I was born in 1962. Black people didn't have the vote in America till 1964, right? And there were people then, because you read the research, you look at the films, who could never imagine black people having the vote in America. I mean, they just couldn't. It was out of the question. And your point about the civil rights movement being about several things happening all at once is true. And it's reminded me that I have to remember that things changed, and things have changed massively
Victor,
in my lifetime.
I was illegal in 1967,
You
4
were.
years before I was born.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like gay
That's
rights
true.
have
That's
only
true. That's
been
true.
part of recent history.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, young people are already part of this kind of shift.
Yeah,
I think
they've got to be.
We had that
Got no
conversation,
choice. Yeah,
didn't
we
we,
did.
a couple of weeks back about, what to do about young people and their future. But I also think we can't write off older people, right? It's about liberating older people.
Yeah.
And Mohammed
Please.
Yunus...
I'm 64, don't write me off.
And Mohammed Yunus is 85, and we
is.
hope to have him on as a
He
guest
is.
in a week or two.
He is.
But Mohammed Yunus, at the age of 85, became, in effect, de facto Prime Minister of
Of
Bangladesh
Bangladesh.
because of the student uprising.
Correct.
And the reason he was appointed is because he's an economist,
Values.
and he talks about the scale of a world
Correct.
with 3 zeros.
Absolutely.
No carbon,
Yeah.
no poverty,
Yeah.
no unemployment.
Yeah.
That's his imagination. And he's a Nobel Peace Prize winning economist
he is, yeah.
who has liberated millions of people from poverty, and in doing so, enabled them to become change makers.
So
So that's like an intergenerational.
It's a joined
Let's face it. Who has all the money right now? It's older
young
people. It's older people. So
right, yeah.
I don't want to count out anyone when I know in particular, if I look at my parents and I say, do you want a better future or a future at all for your grandchildren? And that might mean pension light. That might mean a different way of living. There is a lot of sacrifice that they will make.
It will take sacrifice.
But you have to give them, you have to say, this is the vision.
Yeah.
We have to keep pushing the vision, the creativity. And instead of saying life's going to be less, we're going to have to do without.
I think that's
it's going to be poorer.
Yeah.
We're going to be less happy. Oh, Netflix. Imagine Netflix, whatever. I would much rather sit in conversation like this right now.
Yeah.
Go for a run.
Yep.
Find a toad. We have these rare toads at the bottom of the farm. I would much rather do that than
Not the
than
Russian
watch,
ones.
than watch Netflix. So I think there's a lot of parts of our brain that we're not activating. We're asking the wrong questions when we just say, "Oh, the world's going to get a bit shit," when we have to tighten our belts. It's not like that.
I also think, Chrissy, it's really an interesting point that
vision.
what the older generation that tend to be kind of slightly more likely to kind of coalesce around reform, for example, and kind of wanting things to go back to the old way, was actually, they often hark back to the 1950s and 1960s. And what defined that period, Victor, was equality. Out of the Second World War, wealth had been depleted. People were poor, so they came together.
They did.
Everyone
They
was
had
in a
to.
similar position.
Human
And
beings
in that
need to
experience,
We paid more tax.
in that experience, there was
did.
unity.
We did.
There was community.
Yeah.
And people came together to find entertainment, to find social opportunities, to build an economy that was hopeful. And actually, there's a lot to be said in the Spirit Level book. The book that came out many years ago now.
The Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient.
Absolutely. About
get her on, actually.
everybody, even the rich, benefit from living in a more equal society.
They do.
Everybody does.
Mental health improves, relationships, trust.
So stability, societal stability.
I'd love to be in a place where everyone applied critical thinking.
Okay.
I'd love to be in a society where everyone felt like nature. So to bring where everyone felt like nature was for them. It wasn't just this exclusive wild place that was for really special people.
I totally agree with you, and I am not. I think the notion of vision and hope. What's the saying? Without vision, the people will die.
Will
I
perish.
think that's
Without
absolute.
vision, my people
will
perish.
I think there's an absolute truth in that.
Yeah.
And you talked about the after the Second World War, and I kind of get there. I always think, oh, for fuck's sake, please let's not have a. Let's avoid the war.
No.
Or the climate.
The war is happening right
Yeah,
now.
the war never stopped.
Look out the window.
The war is happening right now.
I'm looking out the window. I see no sign. And my point is,
Cherry blossom.
the point is, the waters are rising. I'm one of these people who are going, I don't want a war. I don't want a revolution. I don't want to fight for death with the planet before we change. Let's try and present people with a vision that they can understand and buy into now.
That's why we're
and
doing this
make the
podcast,
changes.
right? We
It
want
is.
people like Cressy, and we want people like Jennifer to be much more visible across society.
Excuse removers. That's what you are. Excuse removers. That's what we want.
You're living hope that a better future is possible.
Yeah.
That people can achieve what health and well-being within communities by doing things differently. And it might mean stepping outside of the kind of narrative that we still teach children too much in school, right? That we train our young people to become employees, not critical thinkers. We tend to value STEM subjects because that's what employers want, not as artists and creators.
Yeah.
And I think, it comes back to that point that June was making on an earlier podcast about early years.
Yes.
About education and what Atif was actually talking about when we were talking about poverty, about education.
Your barefoot school.
Actually, I mean, barefoot is fascinating to me, and the reason we chose them as a partner is that.
Tell us about it.
So we, from the fire hose we rescue, 50% of the profits goes to the firefighters charity, and from the leather we rescue, it goes to Barefoot College International, where we create scholarships for women to train as solar engineers. And the reason we picked them is because obviously fire hose firefighters make sense, but the leather I wanted to hit something.
My daughter's boyfriend's a fireman, so. Carry on.
But they hit every sustainable development goal. Like they cover everything. And the reason they cover everything, and this goes back to your point about community, is that these women then own their education. They go back to a community where largely they were ignored. It's hard to get some of the women to go because the men don't want them to go.
Yeah.
But as soon as the women go, they come back to the community, and suddenly women in that community have a voice.
Yeah.
You get better maternal health outcomes. They create businesses.
Yeah.
You get cleaner, they go back with ideas of how to improve sanitation, how to improve education for their daughters. And by the way, when a daughter is being educated, are all the young boys.
Yeah.
So it's
standard.
It just expands and expands and expands.
But that's what you're doing.
Do you know
I was going to say, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
And
that's what you're doing. But you know what that is?
We had Lisa on from Social Art.
Yeah.
And I saw a post from her, and we're in the studio that was spawned from Social Art with JR. She was working at a East London school just yesterday, like you do, and talking to young people about building social businesses. And they're called the architects, and they're all creating business ideas that bring that notion of sustainability to life.
Well, I think you're the antidote.
Tell us about what you're doing.
I'll tell you what
You're
this
the
is.
antidote to some of the stuff that young people are seeing on social media.
Yeah. The thing here is it's love. It may sound corny, whatever. It is love.
To me.
And that's the real power. And the vehicle for love to operate in is social enterprise, because you don't get it unless you're in it and you give it. It's not something.
Design it in.
Yeah, that's why I bring it back to relationships. And I mean it. One of the French, my love for Peter is because I saw immediately that, look, if you're going to put love into business and put love into economies and put love into politics, the way to do it is to action it. And in business, it's social enterprise. It's bring up a child who loves something and let them honor that love by making it available and accessible and trade with that. Because if you safeguard that, it will work every time.
You bring love wherever you go.
Everywhere you go. And it's love for the planet.
Yeah.
And it's the love of life. Because without it,
We haven't got much else, have we?
will
Let's be
perish.
honest.
Yeah, and let that vision that you speak of, Victor, let it be built on that basis.
And it's
Let it be
self-love
that.
too.
Where's the love in this?
It's
And
self-love
not
too.
as Cressy,
Yeah.
you know, I can see the love in her work. I can feel it. I can feel it in the bag. I know when I go to the farm, when I drink that wine, that I feel the love in it. And ultimately, that's what every person wants.
And the crazy thing for me is that you can actually quantify it, and it defies economics, right?
Yes.
Because in economics, we're always talking about this is pie.
Okay.
But love is not pie, because you can give infinite amounts of it and still have infinite more amounts to give. And it is, to me, that is how we can decouple ourselves from this sclerotic way of thinking about.
JR, have you got a guitar? Have you got a guitar? I feel something coming on.
You're gonna sing us a song, Victor.
No, but I also
you do
want
it
to
for
say,
love.
No.
You do.
I also want to say something though. It is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's everyone's reward. So I did, you know, I know, obviously I know Victor, and I looked at Victor and the work he's done at Turning Point, etc. And I think that's that. And it's joining that with what I'm doing in Stonebridge. Yeah, it's joining where you're at and the position you're in and the change you can affect at that level with me. So I'm planning to visit the farm and connect it to Stonebridge and Harzen and Brent.
Yeah. I know we're coming to the end of the conversation, and I know I was joking about the guitar.
No, bring the guitar.
No, we got to go with the guitar only because I'm getting tired. But the guitar thing, we don't. I'm fascinated. So when I listen to politicians and when I talk to politicians, they rarely talk about love. I mean, they ever actually talk about love, and we reward them. We do. We vote for them. We pay them. Reward them for actually talking about the opposite of love, and love for the planet. Because that's what this conversation's about.
Yes.
You know, we actually hate the planet. I mean, if you were to land from Mars,
it's an unhealthy
that
relationship
would be presumption.
with the planet. Yeah.
And I'm curious about how we change the narrative. I mean, when the Greens won, some of the headlines in the papers were astonishing. I mean, anybody would think that the Bolsheviks
the billionaires control the media.
Had marched into the. It was incredible. I mean, they'd won a by-election and everything.
She's a plumber.
I know.
I mean, you couldn't get a better profile of an individual, of the kind of individual we need right now.
Yeah, agreed.
To run the economy. Like I would love to see more plumbers, more people who actually fix things.
But also, you've got at the leadership of the Green Party, you've got, you know, a devout Muslim man from the north, and you've got a gay Jewish guy. I mean, at a time when we're apparently divided, what a symbol for actually how
the opposite,
the complete and utter opposite, the unity that represents, I think is wonderful. And I also saw Michelle Obama giving what's the former president, George Bush, this kind of really affectionate relationship that they built.
Yes.
And do you know what?
Yes.
You know, he's not my kind of guy, but,
let's be honest.
love.
Yeah,
love.
If you're Michelle Obama and you see George Bush and you're looking at Donald Trump, I mean, let's be honest, Donald Trump makes George Bush look like an absolute hippie. I mean, like, he's... You know,
but there's a real authentic. There's an authentic relationship they clearly have. We need to actually go into communities where people are different from us, not just in terms of race, colour, gender, but in terms of political thinking, and actually build relationships with those people rather than allow those divisions to remain.
Our Green Party candidate, who sadly didn't win for Faversham, which is where I'm based in Kent, she did this year something they call in the Green Party deep canvassing. So she spent a lot of time with the people who disagreed with her the most.
Yes.
And it was listening and understanding.
Yep.
And at the end of these long conversations, the realization was, oh my gosh, this person actually wants to work for me.
Yeah.
So I do.
Why didn't they vote for her?
If the Green Party can continue this strategy, then I think we've got real hope in the country. But also, it means other parties are going to have to follow that idea of I have to listen and deliver.
Yep.
And I have to find common ground because people already think I'm wild and out there, and I'm going to make
That's
them all
certainly
eat beans and oat milk.
I think we share that in common.
Yeah,
Find common ground.
yeah, we do.
I like a chicken. I can't lie. I mean, I don't want to lie to you. I'm Nigerian. We
You can eat
basically
chicken,
live on
but
this
no one's
stuff.
like, with the Greens, they say you can drive a car, you know.
Sorry.
But
Oh,
I think
God,
we're all
yeah,
outsiders
I
in
did
some
drive
respect,
here.
Victor. We're all outsiders in some respect.
4.3 litre fuel injected. But I don't fly often.
I fly quite often.
I think, you know, that's
The
where...
one thing I don't want people to ever give up, ever, is travel.
No,
We
I
need to
agree.
innovate and travel, and we need to do that the most.
That's what
because
builds understanding,
it
right?
builds
Empathy.
The fact that when I was 16 years old, I got a scholarship to finish high school in Hong Kong with kids from all over the world. And what we realized is that 16-year-olds are all hormonal and crazy and optimistic. And it didn't matter if we were from, it didn't matter if we were from Africa or Oslo.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the
See what I
backwoods
said
of
about young
Canada.
people?
Yeah,
Or from a
totally.
mega city like, you know, Tokyo.
Yeah.
It didn't
Absolutely.
matter. What mattered was that actually we just needed to fall in love with each other a little
My
bit.
sister, who sadly passed, was a member of the Forestry Commission, and they wrote a very kind letter to me about her legacy. And we used to argue about this, me and my sister, because she would travel to conferences and stuff, and then she'd come back and then she'd see my sports tourer. It's not a sports car, it's a sports tourer. And she'd go, look at you, it's a 4.3 litre car. And how can you drive that around, the engine, earth and shake. And then I'd say to her, where were you last week? She'd go, oh man. I said, and I'd say to her, I'll tell you what, see those couple of bricks there, hand me to them. I could put them on my accelerator for 3 months and I would not use the CO2 that you used travelling to Oman for a couple of weeks.
But you could still get it converted to a battery.
Never
an
gonna
electric
happen.
engine,
No.
But we
no
can't.
problem.
But this is also the problem that
Yeah.
we face. Like I would say, we cannot. We have this infighting of who's the greenest
Yeah.
and who's greener than
Exactly.
green
True.
and who bleeds the most green.
Yeah.
We have to stop canceling each other for
Yeah.
having the wrong kind of oat milk and
Good.
whatever. We have to just go. What can we collectively
Yeah.
do to
Yeah,
achieve
yeah.
the most good?
And more than that, what are you individually
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
So it's your own
try and
conscience,
avoid
it's
flying.
your own, what is it you're doing? So it's not, and we have to be forgiving, So you'll drive that car,
There's
but
no
what else have
perfection.
you done? And
Well,
on
it's a very
balance-
old car. So I haven't bought a new car for a
He's
long time.
defending it.
No,
There's
I'm
no-
just saying. I'm not defending. I'm just saying. I'm just saying I do my best.
There is no such thing as
There is no
perfection, right?
perfection.
There
Good is
isn't.
good enough.
Yeah, and nobody's
iterative
nobody's 100%
reflection
good.
and
Yeah.
improvement is good enough for us all, I think.
Yeah.
As long as it's fast enough.
How old's that suit, Victor? See, that's not
suit,
that's not
70
brand new,
years
is
old.
it? Right,
It's
it's not brand
70
new. It's
70 years old, this suit. You cannot get this suit made
Yeah.
now.
I can't believe
70
it
years
still fits
old.
after
It's
all
the
those
real
years.
McCoy.
No,
But let me
Handmade.
tell you something as well,
No, they
Peter.
don't make textile
Yeah.
of that.
No.
If
Way
you
too
ask
many.
me, in my position and what I do, what do I want from Peter? I wouldn't ask him to stop driving. I'd ask him to drive that car down to Stonebridge and have a chat with me about what I can do
And
to
inspire
support
the young people.
to
Inspire the young
I'd say
people.
come and give a talk to
Okay.
young people and give them a pathway to be able to affect
Okay.
change.
Okay.
It wouldn't be that stop driving.
No,
Okay.
and I think that
Cool.
you're entirely right. The risk is that we make people fearful
Yeah.
of the future
Yeah.
rather than understanding
And hopeful.
the opportunity, the hope that exists within it. And hope is a political act. And I think that the real risk is that they're killing our hope and suppressing our belief in a better way.
Yeah.
And you two and all of us, I think, and hopefully many of you that are watching, understand that we've got a job to go out and be ambassadors and to put ourselves out there and
Yeah.
change the narrative a bit.
I
because
always ask people when I do make speeches about stuff like that requires change to do something, and I always ask if you can talk to 10 people that aren't in this room about what happened in this room and about why they need to change. You don't have to agree; you just have to talk to them. Because if 2 of them, you've got 100 people in the room, they all speak 10 people. That's how you get movements. It's getting people to do stuff. But I wish I could bring everyone to your farm.
We're getting there.
Oh, no.
We are getting there.
Content.
I mean, we
Not
have
Social
everyone, 'cause
media will
that'd
bring
be- that'd
everybody
pollute-
to the
that'd
farm.
this is part of it. But I was wondering whether we might actually film a future podcast down at the farm.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do that, and we'll
Providing we can do one at your studio.
We'll crack a bottle of wine. We'll come. We'll film that at post 5 o'clock.
I'm there, as long as we can come to your studio.
We will.
I think
I'm in this. Like Peter and I have had a relationship for over a decade. Yep. For over a decade.
This is the second time I've met you, so
I stand for this, and I think that's
true.
I know.
Yeah, the thing I'd ask for is that
we've been stalking you for years, because every time you're taking a photo, you've had a photo taken with our couplets. We've been like, he's flying, I'm like.
Jen, what would you?
Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Oh, come on! I zoom in on every. Martin Lewis, the money guy.
Yeah.
He famously, in one of his photos, is holding one of our wallets, and everyone who uses our stuff, we stalk.
I will make it a point of duty now, whenever I do anything that involves film, to shoot my cuffs and sort of do the James Bond.
I'd like to kind of wrap up this part of the conversation. We'll have a little break for a bit, maybe come back and have a bit of cake.
I'm all for that.
But, your reflections on this conversation, is there anything that you think that you would want the audience here to take away from this conversation?
Good question.
Mine would be that it is everybody has access to the power to affect change, but that will come with a responsibility that you can take at an individual level. Thereafter, it's about the relationships that you then establish to enact greater change than your own self.
Let me ask you the same question. We've had a good chat.
Yes.
It's great to see you. Amazing.
Maybe I'll end up in politics. But I
think you are.
Vote.
The thing we have to do, the thing we have to do is we have to imagine this better future, and then you have to just start delivering on it, and make no excuse for why you can't.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, and this is very much a parallel. If you start doing things that people can't argue with. People said in the beginning, "This will never last." 20 years later, nobody can say this will never last.
No, absolutely.
It's like a domino effect. You start to see it spread out from where you are.
Cool.
So, and it's exactly the same parallel. You start delivering yourself, you will bring and form communities around you. You will affect more change, and you'll start to be able to ask for bigger things. Excellent. So 20 years ago, I wouldn't have said, I want the law to change in 10 years, and this is exactly what I want, and I know it's going to work, and I dare you to disagree with me. I'm very comfortable with saying that now, because I know that no one can. No one can say, yeah, I think we should profit from the exploitation of other people and the degradation of the natural world.
You are as cool as a sustainably produced cucumber.
And I would like to say you are a cool, sustainably produced woman. Victor, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is that hope is possible, viable, doable. I think we forget the vision thing. I think we do. I think all change has started with a vision. And I think we forget that. And I suppose the third takeaway is that I have seen change in my lifetime. I forget that, like massive social change in my lifetime. So that makes the planet's survival possible. And that has given me kind of quite a lot of energy, actually. I think that is, we can do this, we can do this. It's not impossible. Yeah.
I think for me, the narrative so far that we need to kind of flip is that sustainability, kind of the health of the planet, requires us to lose something or to give something up. And actually it's the absolute opposite.
You get more.
The route to abundance, to health, to well-being, to a sense of purpose and connection with the planet and your community lies in the root of what we've been talking about today. And I just think people should embrace it and see it as a great, great opportunity to rediscover the purpose and the joy of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because Victor, let me tell you, if we don't take care of the planet, it's never going to die. All it will become is it will be really hard to live it. And humans will suffer. Life, humans will suffer. That's all it means. It's not...
Apparently, since 1970, we've currently 73% of the planet has been degraded. There's a million species currently facing extinction. The rate of oceans rising, has doubled since the mid-1990s.
And we underestimated it in the first place. So it's,
Yeah.
And we live on an island where most of the cities are on the coast.
It's true.
Except for Birmingham will be fine.
Birmingham's fine.
The planet is giving us feedback, people, and all we're doing is having meetings.
Really, it's going to be horrible to live on, and that's on everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Blessings.
Thank you. You're cool.
And love.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Oh, Victor, what a conversation, right?
It was a hell of a conversation.
Wasn't it? It was good.
It was deep. We got some stuff done. We got some ideas from brilliant people, actually.
I know, we've got some
We
brilliant
should hear
people in our
more from
sector.
them.
Yeah,
People
we will.
like that. You know,
We will.
not just us. I mean, they're solution-focused people, aren't they? They've got things that got answers to questions.
They don't always agree when that is the grit in the oyster, isn't it?
It's true. I mean, what should we do about the environment, the earth, the declination, the decline of species?
Yeah.
It's like the answer's in those two women, to be honest.
I tell you what, I felt quite exhausted from that conversation because it's a big challenge, reasonable solutions, but trying to bend the world into those ideas is hard.
I think that the world doesn't bend in a way. You've got to attack it. You know, I mean, the fact that in my lifetime things have changed in a way. 1962, I was born. Black people didn't have the vote. I was talking about it during the conversation. Things can change. Things do change, but you have to attack it from all kinds of different. It's weird because today I got a letter from the Forestry Commission. And it was about my sister who died in November, and it was a eulogy, really, about the influence that she had and the impact she had on individuals that she met, as well as their strategy and everything else. And it just feels weird. I got that letter today as we're discussing it. And I just want to dedicate my presence here to my sister. Because
You can dedicate the whole podcast to your sister.
Fine. Dr. Tayo Adebowale.
Yeah, well, here's to her. And look, we don't have a glass to raise, but do you know what we have got?
She wasn't a drinker, so
Well,
clean water was her thing.
Well, we've got something else that we could raise in her name, I think, and that would be, I think, fitting, given it's our friend, ally, supporter. What would we do without her?
That's true.
It
is Sarah Burns Cakes.
In you come, Sarah.
We could really I could do with that cake as well.
Yeah.
He's
bring it on.
Worked me hard.
Whoa.
Oh,
now,
thank you, Sarah.
Who are you going to sit next to?
You got it.
Sit next to you, then.
Oh.
I was just shifting up.
Oh, I'll come your side.
Sit
Oh,
next
go
to
sit
me.
next to Victor.
Sit
We know where
next
the
to
power
me.
sits.
Yes.
On the red leather benches.
Red leather benches.
Yes. Whereas I'm on the wonky IKEA sofa.
You're on your own. You're on your own.
Right. Sarah,
Yes.
Tell us.
first
I
of
know
all,
this
what is this incredible cake?
I know what it is.
This week we have a carrot and walnut cake.
I love carrot cake. And do you know what we could do with?
Oh,
To accompany this wonderful cake, which I can't wait any longer.
okay. Well, you tuck in for a minute. Sarah, I'm aware you don't have a mic, so make sure you speak up. And this is a great opportunity. Every time you're having a slice of cake, what I would recommend is a delicious cup of Cafe Del Rey. Machu Picchu is our favourite coffee. Isn't it? He's got his mouth full, so I will continue to tell you about this incredible coffee. It's part owned by the farmers and producers, and it's been going for years and years and years. I got to know this coffee when I worked at Oxfam over 30 years ago. And it is still, Cafe Del Rey as a company has grown and it's changed, but it's still got the same ethos. It's still a social enterprise. And when you drink this coffee, society profits, and the suppliers and producers do too.
And given what we've been talking about, why buy anything else?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, using my recycled line, seeing as this is an environmental podcast, no bitter aftertaste.
No bitter aftertaste.
It's a social enterprise way, Victor. Sarah, just wanted you to reflect. You've been in the studio listening to the conversations we had with the incredible Jennifer from Bang and Cressy, who we love, and I know you love. You're wearing the belt, you got the bag, we all love it. What was your takeaway?
Obviously, I'm very fortunate in the fact that Elveston Cressy is one of my local social enterprises. So I had the benefit of being able to go there regularly. I popped in just as I'm passing a few times, and seeing the regenerative work they're doing on the farm is incredible. So I went there when they first moved in, and it was a shell. So now they've got an amazing barn where they've got lots of people working in there. They've got a little shop. You can see the products. But just seeing how, well, you see the raw materials and how you see a fire hose curled up outside to a beautiful, beautiful bag sitting on a shelf inside. It's just like, I don't normally buy a lot of things new. I prefer to go secondhand, so Vinted and places like that, rather than buying new products. But I don't feel guilty about buying something that's fully recycled.
Yeah, and I think what I love about it is that I think it's like better than any sort of status fashion brand.
Yeah.
I agree.
It really, really draws
It
attention.
is a status fashion brand,
Well, it is,
but for the right
but it goes
status.
beyond, right? For the right
It's a
reasons.
talking point.
It's not about exclusive. It's about style.
I agree.
It's about subtle luxury, and you've got a story behind it, right?
It's actually, I like the fact that the what she's saying is what we were saying. You don't have to suffer to save the planet. You know, you can
can't.
have some luxury. You can, and we're not asking people to either.
No.
Let's not. You know, you don't have to suffer to save the planet.
Change our way of thinking about
To think.
like the status. I've always wanted a race to the top rather than a race to the bottom, right?
exactly.
Like people should speak with pride, not about the price of something,
Yeah,
but the value it
The
creates.
value it- oh.
The value it creates.
totally agree. And Jenny from Bang,
Yeah, Jennifer, what a woman.
amazing. What do you make of Jennifer?
Well, I've known Jennifer online for 10 years, and I'd only recently met her at the awards last year. But she is a force to be reckoned with.
Isn't she? Thank you for protecting me from quite so many demands, because like it takes a strong woman to get anywhere in this world, right? Absolutely no doubt. And she isn't afraid to ask.
Just saying goodbye to JR there from Salute.
Yeah, need some
See
grease
you,
on your
Annalisa.
floorboards, JR.
You're cool. You're cool, JR. See you next time.
Love you. We're going to have to get him on camera.
We're gonna have to. It's gotta
He keeps
happen.
on escaping just before.
It's got to happen because he's cool.
Sarah, this cake is delicious.
It's unbelievably good.
Enjoying it?
I mean, it's amazing. It's the best carrot cake I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You need to marry Duncan. So you need to change your name, because Sarah Burns Cakes is never going to work as a retail brand.
It is going to work as a. What's wrong with that?
Well, Sarah Burns Cakes.
Yes, Sarah
To be
Burns
fair,
cakes. It'd
The
work.
first cake I made for this podcast, I did burn and had to remake it. So, got to live up to my name.
I think Sarah Burns cakes would work as a retail brand.
Okay, well,
It has
you
a
know,
cachet.
what do I know as a marketeer?
What's your fiance's name?
What is Duncan's surname?
What's Duncan?
Watson.
Watson.
Sarah Watson's Cakes.
It
Yeah,
doesn't have
I
the
agree.
same. It doesn't have the same.
And also,
No.
I'd go to the end of the alphabet.
Yeah.
So then I'd get deprioritised. Burns.
B is right there. It's true. It's a
You need,
very
to,
good
you need
point.
to find a husband with the name like excellent or delicious. Sarah's excellent cakes.
I'm
Anyway.
already married, but I tell you what, if I wasn't,
And then, be
Adebowale.
you'd
So
be
rather
right.
than marry me chicken or whatever, the
hell with that.
marry me carrot cake.
This is. I'll marry you for your carrot cake.
The
I'll
barrel
tell you
bread
what,
was amazing too.
your batter breath, yes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And isn't Lisa a wonderful woman?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. She's straight, isn't she?
isn't it?
Real, as they say.
Yeah.
And honest.
I think that's what we're trying to do with this podcast, isn't it? Like get some like different and real voices.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. People who are working with the question.
yeah,
and
under
creating the
pressure.
answers under pressure, and those voices need hearing, man, because they don't get heard. They don't get the influence.
And she represents a lot of people who definitely don't get heard.
She absolutely does. She
And sort of
absolutely
people that
does.
can easily be seduced by the sort of politics that is so evident, and we have to
Yes.
give those people agency, voice, visibility, because
Yes.
that's what gives other people food for thought.
Yes,
And
totally
Sarah-
agree.
Thank you for this food for thought.
Boom, boom.
This is delightful, though.
Yeah, I'm glad you got your mouth full, Victor.
Stop it.
Can I also say,
Yeah.
really touched that you shed the letter about your sister.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
For me, it goes to show
very
that,
special. She's very special.
yeah, and that good people live on long beyond their human lives.
Yeah, but we bumped into somebody today. Anyway, well, that doesn't
Oh,
matter.
tell us.
Maybe not.
Okay, moving on.
Some people you're really glad
Yeah.
to move on.
Yep, you're glad to forget.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, but this is...
no, my sister is
yeah.
Thank you for that. I
No,
appreciate it.
she's, yeah.
Thanks for
Sound
giving me the
amazing,
time.
and thank you for sharing that with me. And yeah, look forward to reconvening.
What to do about?
What to do about
To do about.
anything and everything.
If you've got ideas, can we ask people for ideas?
Well, you
I
can.
think we
Speak
can.
to camera.
If
Any
you've got
camera.
any ideas, that camera, that's a good idea. If you've got any ideas about what to do about, what we should do about, send them in. We're really happy to hear them. We'll ignore them. No, we won't.
Never.
We're really keen to get your ideas. Tell us what you think. Write in, tweet. I don't know. Tweet. No, it's not tweet, is it?
Insta,
Insta,
email,
email,
you can
LinkedIn.
tweet. We're on all social media, or we should be.
Tell us what you think. Tell us your ideas. And who knows, you might be on.
Yeah, and if you've got an idea for a guest that you think we should
Idea for a guest.
bring it
Idea
on.
for a subject, a guest.
Victor, can I also just say, nice tweed.
Thank you very much. It's 70 years old.
Yep, just like yourself.
It's vintage, you cheeky mare.
I know it
Into
is.
that one.
I did, didn't I? I really did. I'm not far off. Yeah, hopefully I'll arrive at 17 as good as Nick as this suit.
Sarah, thank you for bringing organisation, structure, support.
Cake.
Yeah, but not just cake, like so much more than cake, but
I
also
know.
mostly cake.
You bring wisdom.
Don't speak with your mouth full.
Quiet. Stop it. Quiet. Quiet wisdom.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I think what we're going to do is just cut to maybe some music. So with that, we're done.
I have this dream, it can be little or big, depending how you look at it, but there's something about it that makes me sad. I need to think, refresh the page and make things okay here. If I'm alone, then maybe I've got it all worked out. Stay steady, so I'm holding myself tighter each time. Say maybe I'll find you if I lived another life. I wanna love bigger, wanna love big, wanna love big. I look up to the clouds, and they look down like I'm stupid. I wanna love bigger, wanna love big, wanna love big. When the shame rains down, you stop me feeling stupid. I'll take the lead. You're my favorite unrequited Valentine. I'ma be proud of it. I like the sound of it. Makeshift appeals, I'll lose interest if you make me cry fast at the battlefield. Stay steady, so I'm holding myself tighter each time. Say maybe I'll find you if I lived another life. Don't make me apologize for needing my time. I'm ready. When you are, will you let me call you mine? I wanna love bigger, wanna love big, wanna love big. I look up to the clouds, and they look down like I'm stupid. I wanna love bigger, wanna love big, wanna love big. When the shame rains down, you stop me feeling useless. I wanna love big, wanna love big. I look look up to the clouds and they look down like I'm stupid. I wanna love big, I wanna love big, wanna love big. When the shame rains down, you stop me feeling useless.